Hi, I am Brian Deem. I am what people know as a movie nerd of the very pretentious variety. I'm into highbrow movies. The Oscars is my Super Bowl, and I have a list of every movie that I've ever seen. And like Brandon, I'm trying to finish 1,001 movies to see before you die. So I would say my tastes are very not what the average person sees.
Hey guys, my name's Brennan Farrow. I watch more movies than anything else that I watch. Like, I don't watch a lot of TV. I watch more movies, but unlike Brian, he's more into the production value of a movie. I am more in it for the entertainment value. Like, a movie can be really shitty, crappily made. Is it crappily one word? I don't even know.
It could be total shit.
It could be a really crappy movie. The way it's made. But if it's entertaining, then I'll love it and I'll rewatch it. And I think that's where our show will differ than a lot of podcasts that I listen to, because unlike critics, where they critique every little part about a movie, and if it's not perfectly made, it sucks. I can offer a different view on it, and that's where I come from. So that's me. And then over here we have Darius.
So it's nice to meet you. My name is Darius Fields. From my standpoint, I'm going to be looking over like the writing of the movie. That's like my favorite part. I think that's like the most important part of the movie, is to tell a story. So that's my take on that.
So as you can see, we all have a different way of watching movies and how we review movies. But to get an even bigger understanding of the kind of movies we like and our view on it, the first 5 episodes of this series, we're going to count down each of our top 5 favorite movies of all time. Not necessarily what we think are the best, at least for me, but our top 5 favorite movies of all time.
I think the thing that we came to the consensus of, these are the 5 movies that we could throw on at any point and we would just be able to watch.
Exactly. I'll tell you right now that I won't say it, but my number 1 movie is by far not the best movie ever made. It's far from it, but it's the one movie that I can watch over and over again without any hesitation and still be enjoyed by it.
Same way. My number 1 is just a very personal film that has always spoken to me, that there's a lot of movies that are way better, but this is just the one.
Yeah, and as we go on, we'll talk more about like what we think maybe are the best movies that are made, over the course of history.
Yeah, Darius, how'd you come up with your list?
Well, my list is exactly the exact same. Like movies that I grew up on, movies that I really influenced my writing to become a storyteller. So you're gonna see a lot of history. You're gonna see a lot of cultural ties, everything. So, what's the first movie we're gonna go over?
All right. So our plan here is to go over, for the first 5 weeks at least, we'll each review our number 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 movies, and then if we've seen any newer movies in the theaters, we'll go over that. We'll talk about that as well.
It's Oscar season, so why not? Yeah. Right. We all gave each other our top 5, and this week every one of us watched each other's number 5 pick, so we can all just be like, "What do you think?"
All right, so we'll start with mine,
Okay.
with my number 5, and my number 5 movie of all time. And it's very hard to put at number 5, only because there's so many movies that you can put in the top 5.
I felt that's what the hardest one, because 5 was the cutoff, and you'd be like, making my 5 is harder than my 1, because whatever's my 5 means these other movies aren't even on the list anymore.
Exactly, and it was like, if I put this at number 5, like, I look back and I'm like, how did I not put like Toy Story or Lion King in my top 5? And it could have even been number 2 or 1. I mean, it was just so hard. Like, I have like probably 10 movies that are easily top 5, and it's so difficult.
To make this list easier for me, I tried to make it a personal list. I tried not to put movies like Star Wars or Jurassic Park on there that I feel everybody puts on their top 5. So I immediately said to myself, I'm just going to do movies that maybe I would be in my top 5, but not most people.
And that's why this is a top 5 of our favorite movies, not the top 5 best movies.
My top 5 best.
And ever since I made
movies
this
are very
list,
different.
ever since I made this list, I've been going back and wondering like what movies I should have put in number 5.
Yeah, how about you, Darius? What was your experience of picking your 5?
It was very hard because like I have my favorite movies. I have my movies that I do watch a lot. I have movies that I know word from word. So it was kind of hard. So I just picked the ones that I really do like watch. I will put on for a friend like, have you seen this? Like that's like would be my top 5 or whichever one I would recommend to anyone. So yeah.
All right, so let's get it started here. And my number 5, which I never even saw until the 9th grade, and I know
really?
exactly. And
Oh my God.
and I wasn't as big into movies back then when I was younger than I am now. So, but when I remember in 9th grade was the first time I saw it because it was towards the end of the year, and it was just one of those like free days, like there was like a pep rally or something going on in the gym or something that I didn't go to. So instead they just put a movie on the TV, and everybody in my class was quoting every line to this movie, and I felt so left out because I had no idea.
Actually, me and Darius were talking about this earlier. I think this movie is the most quotable, unintentionally hilarious movie of all time because so many of the lines are great, but there are other ones that just the way that they're delivered, they're kind of funny when they're supposed to be taken really seriously.
Wow.
Yes, and that movie is Forrest Gump.
Oh yes,
So
my favorite line in that whole movie is, "I may not be a small man, but I know what love is." Just so unintentionally hilarious.
And there's some cool things I even read up on. I even read about. It was the first movie too that I ever watched. When I watched it last week, it was the first movie I ever watched entirely with audio commentary.
I feel like you can do that though, because what a lot pretentious guy coming in here. A lot of people don't understand how, from a technical standpoint, how revolutionary this movie was. Like the obvious example being, this was the first movie to use digital technology to insert characters into old footage, like the scenes where he meets Kennedy and he meets John Lennon. This ability to take new footage and insert it into like old footage was something at the time that was like incredibly revolutionary. So this movie did actually change filmmaking. That's why Robert Zemeckis got the directing Oscar. He totally deserved it.
Which is why we have Brian on this show, because I would have come up with that answer. It's just fun to watch. Like it's fun to watch. Like I said, to me was more entertaining than the actual production I went into it. Things that they were talking about in the audio commentary, which is well known, is that what I loved about this movie was that no matter what happened in his life, Forrest always made decisions with his heart. He never.
I agree.
He never just he knew right from wrong, but it was what he always thought was right. And he never considered the consequences of doing the right thing, and so he just always went with what he felt was right, and I thought that was so cool, because not everybody's like that, and I feel like if everybody was, is like that, it would be a lot different world that we live in.
Plus, we'd all be amazing at ping pong, right?
That is true.
That's the secret. You gotta hit the ball with your heart.
Like I said, he goes wherever life takes him without question or hesitation or the consequences, of it. There were some things that do annoy me about it, such as for as good as the Jenny character was, she annoyed me. You talk about leading somebody on. She does that the entire movie, and it aggravates me because it's all he wants to do is be with her. And in one moment she'll be like, "You'll always be I'll always be your girl," and then she drives off to on the bus back home to wherever.
Do you feel that she was using him at a certain point, or was she really just caught into a life decision?
I mean,
she was sexually
let's
abused.
She was sexually abused.
Yeah,
she's not a healthy person, no, and she has a lot of skeletons in her closet. She has a lot of issues with her past, and Forrest and Jenny were on two very different life paths, but she never she would tell him, go ahead and do your own thing. Let me be myself. You can't always protect me. But then when he did protect her, she was like, thank you, but then I'm out of here.
Well,
that's kind of
to
vibe I
answer
get.
Brandon's question, I mean, yes, absolutely, Jenny was leading Forrest on, and there's no logical reason he should have been in love with her. She was awful to him, and any reasonable person who understood what was going on would do that. That's the point of the movie. It would have been a worse movie because you're right, Forrest only sees the good in the world. It would have been a worse movie if he had only seen the good in the world and that always worked out for him. The point of his love for Jenny is to kind of provide that counterpoint to his. It's like the Lieutenant Dan thing. The same thing happened with Lieutenant Dan. He thought Lieutenant Dan was just like his friend and he's like this old alcoholic. I mean, Forrest only sees the best in people. There's a lot of people who use him, but there is that redeeming quality that I feel at the end of the movie, like Lieutenant Dan and Jenny did ultimately come to really love Forrest because he only saw the best in them that no one else could. But I think Jenny using Forrest was kind of the point because him not being able to see it kind of reaffirmed this idea in our mind that he does only see the best in people, but that's not always a good thing because then you can be oblivious to stuff that you should see.
Yeah, let's talk about Forrest Gump's success. Like, how do you guys feel about that,
Deserved all the money it made.
Really?
Deserved all the money.
I get where some people are like, if you believe this story, you'll just believe that kind of you just do anything you wanted to do with no repercussions because there were with everything he did. I just don't think it was the meaning of dumb luck that's what you get out of life.
I think it was just a clever story structure. It was an excuse for them to go through a very turbulent time in our nation's history, and how do we do that while at the same time telling a character-driven story? How do we tell a character-driven story while at the same time also doing kind of a time capsule piece of a very turbulent time in American history? I just thought it was a very clever idea. I mean, it's a movie. It's suspension of disbelief. I don't think anybody watching Forrest Gump actually believes that this really happened. It's like, did you ever see Ben-Hur?
I haven't yet.
Ben-Hur is just this guy gets captured in the Roman times and he gets betrayed by his friend and he keeps almost running into Jesus. So it also becomes this unintentional way of them telling the Jesus story, but it was kind of clever.
So we'll kind of wrap that one up because we're pressed for time here. But a couple of interesting things was I watched it with the audio commentary, so I didn't hear a lot of the dialogue in the movie, so I don't remember exactly. But if I remember correctly, one thing that Gary Sinise said as Lieutenant Dan was that if you ever become a shrimp boat captain, it'll be the day I become an astronaut. Is that something he said?
Yes,
he did. And then 3 years later, he's the astronaut on the Apollo 13 mission with Tom Hanks in the movie.
That's what
and I thought that was so funny that was the weird correlation. I mean, obviously he was the one that got held back because of the false. The false test, but
actually there is a reason that he says he's an astronaut. The reason they have him say he's an astronaut is because remember at the end he gets the metal legs and he goes, same thing the astronauts use. So that was a plant for when he got the steel legs.
Did not think of that. And just three other things real quick. One, the one other thing I didn't like about it was the only production thing I didn't like was when you first see Forrest as an adult and he's running away from the bullies from the car.
Oh yeah.
You have one scene where the car is up against his foot. And then in the next frame he's 20 feet ahead. And then the next frame he's right next to it, and then he makes the turn into the field, and then he pan over and he's 50 feet. That's the only thing that bothered me. That was they could have cut that a little bit differently.
And it was the opening movie, so it's very important.
And then two real interesting notes was that I read up on or that I heard was one that Jenny's childhood home when they first went on that piece of land. There was nothing.
Yeah,
it was dirt. They built the house and they planted every one of those crops that were out there, which I thought was really cool. That was a lot of work that went just to that. It wasn't all fake. It wasn't green screen, anything like that. Like they planted that whole field, which I thought was cool. And then when Tom Hanks was promoting his newest movie, Bridge of Spies, someone had asked him about Forrest Gump, and it turns out that Forrest Gump was almost not made because they were running out of money. And they want the scene in the movie when he runs back and forth across the country, 5 or 6 times. They wanted that. They had to have that scene in the movie. Robert Zemeckis couldn't. He said without a doubt that scene has to be in the movie, or else it's not going to be a movie. And they didn't have money for it, so Tom Hanks put up half of what he had, and he put up half of his bank account and gave him the money for it. And because of that, the movie was finally made. And that only came to light just now.
Based on how much money that movie made, I think he got it back. So.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I thought it was just cool that Tom Hanks had to put up half the money for that scene.
Although people might get mad, but although that was not one of my favorite parts of the movie, I did think that was like an extra. I didn't think it was, that significant to me. I might be, that person, but it really wasn't that significant to me. I just thought, okay, like I really did. Like you're running. I can understand like his mind state. He was bewildered. He was out of it, but I didn't think it was that necessary.
No.
I thought it was. I actually thought it was.
It's a classic Hollywood style film. The reason they needed that is because during the third act, you need a big visual set piece. So him running across the country and them getting the different shots of the mountains and the trees and all that. That's just an old classic Hollywood style rule. You got to have that big visual set piece at the end. So. It was more just you had to have something big happen in the third act. It could have been anything. That's just the thing that he wanted to do.
All right, so we'll end on that. So my number 5 movie of all time is Forrest Gump. Next, we'll move on to Darius. If you want to go ahead and introduce your movie.
Why don't you talk about this?
So my number 5 movie is 9 Dead. This is actually on Netflix. It wasn't, released in the theaters. And the synopsis of the movie, like I said, I love writing. I just thought it was amazing how you can have 9 people in a room and each of them are going to die and you don't know the reason why. You have no connection with the other person. You have another person that, don't even speak the language. I just thought the writing of that was, just amazing. Could have been better. But what you guys thought about my number 5 movie?
Well, the synopsis of the movie, for anybody that doesn't know, it says on IMDb, 9 strangers are kidnapped and forced to figure out the connection they have to each other as one has to die every 9 minutes. I watched it, and I kind of have mixed reviews on this. One, I thought it was good. My first reaction or thought of it was like a much lesser crime film, like a Saw type movie.
I was about to say that. This is my one sentence review. A Saw clone, like a Saw ripoff that somehow gets interesting at a certain point and then completely ruins it at the end by fumbling the ending.
Yes. Okay. So before we get to the ending, that was like the biggest. That was the biggest issue I have with it. I didn't care that
it started to catch my attention after a certain point, and then they completely fumbled the ending, and I was like, "Oh, you!" It was like watching a team. It was like watching a football team about to make a comeback, and then they missed that. They missed that final field goal and just they lose the game anyway.
Yeah, I didn't care for the ending. Just how it just stopped. It just went to black and then the credits rolled, and that was my biggest issue with it.
It was a Sopranos ending. It was just like a fade to black.
I liked. I thought the plot was okay. All right, he kidnaps these guys and they have no idea where they are or who the killer is. Kind of like Saw. But where Saw, you actually have a puzzle to figure out and, do it yourself, and you're causing harm to yourself to, physical pain because of what you've done in the past. Sort of the same thing here.
I do like
the whole.
I like rely on gore. That was nice.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I like that. I didn't
Until
mind
you
that.
broke his hand.
I
but
liked
that wasn't that
the
much
mystery of it. I liked thinking for the first hour to an hour and 15 minutes, you didn't know why they were there. They were trying to figure it out. My only issue was like with this kind of movie is now that I know why they're all connected and the mystery solved, I really have no reason to watch the movie again. To me, and so that's kind of how I feel about the whole mystery genre. Is that once the mystery is solved, why watch it? I mean, it really has to be done well for me to rewatch a mystery type movie like that again.
I don't know. I love that. I've watched it many times. Cause it's very similar to another one of my favorite movies. Is I don't know if you guys watched it, Mindhunters. Have you ever?
Mindhunters is pretty good.
Yeah. So
I felt Mindhunters was a better version.
It is a better version. It is a better version. But like I don't know. I think I think the reason why that was on my top 5, like I said before, is it's something that I will put on for people to watch, and I do like to see people trying to see who actually like why they're there, like who's gonna be the killer, who is there gonna ever get away, like if they're going to walk away alive, like is there gonna be more people to die. So and it was comical to me. I don't know about you guys. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, again, these are not the movies we necessarily think are the best. This is the perfect example of that. This is just a movie that Darius really likes that he can throw on at any point. I mean,
yeah, I agree, and that's why we could always do like a top 10 all time like best movies, even collectively what we think. We can always put one collective list. We're not going over 30 movies.
I think we do something where we all just pick what we think is the best movie of all
and we could
time.
we could always rank
Just
them like
the one
collectively.
best
I
movie
think
of
that
all
would be
time.
dope. Yeah, I think that would definitely be dope.
Although my pick for best movie of all time is actually on my top 5 list.
Which
you
is
guys,
fine.
you guys will end up watching it anyways. It's not my number 1, but it's on my top 5.
So we have mine is Forrest Gump. Darius is 9 Dead.
Any other thoughts on 9 Dead?
I think once again, I think you guys should go watch it. Mindhunters, if you're a very analytical person, I'll defer you there. But if your IQ is a little lower, 9 Dead is for you.
What I did like about it was like,
or if you're drinking, I will say this was a fun drunk movie. It was. I feel like you need to be drinking when you watch this.
I liked how they were able to, like what you said with the writing, how they were able to connect 9 random people to one scenario or to one crime, I should say, without giving anything away.
Yeah, I
like
don't
that.
have any issues
Or
with the script.
I would say more 11 people, because when you watch the movie, you'll understand. But it's not just the 9 people that are kidnapped that are involved.
Guys, I always come with questions. So, how if you had to do the writing differently, how would you write the end? That's the question.
I feel like there was a different ending, and the director changed it. That was what I was about to say. There were a lot of things in this movie that felt like they weren't in the script, and like the director changed it. Now, I don't know. Maybe the person who wrote the script directed it too. I have no clue. I don't know the background of this movie. It seemed like I think the script was good. If I would have ended the movie, I would not have tried to throw one final twist in there at the end, and I would have just let the natural ending that you think is going to happen. I think that what the killer tells them they have to do, I think I would have just let the natural ending happen instead of trying to throw one more like shocker in there. I feel it was a little overkill. When you do a whole movie that's a shocker, you don't need to throw like one final. That's the biggest way it was a Saw ripoff. They were like, oh, we have to throw one final twist in there like they did at the end of Saw, and I'm like, no, you really don't. You should have just let it end. It had a fine ending already.
Okay, that concludes 9 Dead for Darius, and then again, mine was Forrest Gump. Now, Brian, go ahead and introduce your number 5.
In my total pretentiousness, which you're going to see this as a reoccurring theme, my number 5 movie, which this probably should be higher, but I picked The Social Network. For all of you who don't recognize it, it's the Facebook movie. Remember the one with Justin Timberlake and... Yeah, this is just, I absolutely adore this movie. If I wanted to pick like a stereotypical, like the kind of movie that I like this one. I love getting a cast. This is just a dream team. You've got David Fincher, who did Fight Club, directing it. You've got Aaron Sorkin, the guy who wrote The West Wing, doing what I think is his best script. Fucking Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails is doing the score. And then Andrew Garfield, who played Spider-Man, and Jesse Eisenberg, who's about to play Lex Luthor, are like the actors in it. I just think that this movie is like a dream team, and this is probably, of all the serious dramas, this is one of those movies I've seen it way too many times, and like I can watch it at any point and enjoy it and still be like, oh, this is really brilliant.
Yeah, I did not watch it this week. I didn't have enough time between the time I set my Netflix account up.
So we will reserve your...
I have seen it, though. I just didn't rewatch it this week.
So you've
I have seen it, yes.
Yeah.
My commentary on the movie is I hated the movie, okay? We're all college students, and they become billionaires at the end. How is that possible? Well, it's Harvard University, so, shout out to Harvard. But yeah, I did like the movie. The movie was amazing. I really did like the fact of like how he really like networked with other people. Like he already had an idea, but it was kind of crazy to see the whole origin of creating Facebook. Like I thought it was like really like people sitting down and like, okay, we gotta really plan this. Like this is it was like, he had a ordeal with his girlfriend, and then he just started to rate girls, and it's crazy how it just started out.
Yeah,
rate.
Okay.
Like he started rate.
Okay.
Like he started
R-A-T-E.
not rape. Rate.
No, that's a different David Fincher movie. With the dragon tattoo.
Rate. R-A-T-E.
Yeah, the thing that I love about this movie is that I think that it sort of is the greatest movie ever made about our generation, because the craziest question about the 2000 millennials is, how is the most successful person from our time somebody who made a website that doesn't sell anything? Like, how is that possible? And this movie, in addition to the whole intellectual property, like, did he really steal someone else's idea? Didn't he? Like, the movie offers a lot of questions and no easy answers, and kind of lets you pick for yourself, and it brings up a lot of different elements that I think are very interesting, which this is just because Aaron Sorkin is an amazing screenwriter. He won the Oscar for this, and he totally should have, which if you haven't seen any of his other movies, Moneyball is great, the new one, Steve Jobs is very similar to this. I loved that movie. Obviously go watch The West Wing or A Few Good Men if you want to see his older stuff.
There were two things that I did like. From what I remember is, one, I liked that it wasn't just the creation of Facebook. Like, you had the whole lawsuit behind it, which I really enjoyed because I like that. But I love Jesse Eisenberg.
Can we all agree that he definitively over Andrew Garfield, though?
I
like the Winklevoss twins, maybe not, but yeah, Andrew Garfield.
I was gonna say that. Like that was crazy. And his relationship with Eduardo, like that was another thing to me that was like shocking. But I mean, like for me, the only reason why I kind of connected with him, because at all costs I could understand, like, you have to you really want the best for your company. You want the best, and like you know everything. You're pretty much the creator of all these programs, even when you was helping out the twins and stuff like that. But I didn't like Justin Timberlake in the movie.
Fun fact, the twins were actually played by one person.
Swear.
Yeah, it was one actor. They used digital technology, so it's kind of interesting to go back and see like this guy's acting with himself. Yeah, it's one actor.
Have you ever seen A Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan?
Yeah, I didn't know that it was just one actor for the twins.
Also, I love Jesse Eisenberg's performance in this movie. Jesse Eisenberg went out of his way. He when they asked him if he did any research on Mark Zuckerberg, and getting into the truth of this movie, Aaron Sorkin has admitted that this is not supposed to be a factually accurate movie. He based it on a book that even the book they said they changed some things, and he changed some things from the book. And Jesse Eisenberg, they asked him, if he researched Mark Zuckerberg in order to play the role, and he said, I did no research on Mark Zuckerberg. I read Aaron Sorkin's script. I was very aware that I was playing a character. I was not playing a real person. I just kind of played the character the way that I thought he needed to be played. And this is one of my favorite performances of all time, especially from such a young actor. I was very impressed by it.
Two things before we wrap up this real quick is One, like you said, it's not 100% factual, which I think a lot of people maybe not realize. It's like movies aren't supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like even movies that are based on true stories, they're more for entertainment. Like their number one priority is being entertaining, and so they'll change things around to make it more entertaining. So I see you there. But I love Jesse Eisenberg, and I think
he did.
like a role like this he plays perfectly because I think any character that has that is supposed to have a huge ego, he is born to play that character. He just has that personality, like that egotistical character, like he plays perfectly. Even in Now You See Me, he was the same kind of character, and he does it so well. I think that's one of the few things I'm looking forward to with Dawn of Justice is how he plays Lex Luthor, because I think he can play that character really just because of his personality and the way he acts it. I think is so good, and so that's to me from what I remember from this movie that I saw a couple of years ago. I am going to rewatch it. I just haven't seen it, but that's what I like.
Because he's got his career in movies like Adventureland. Like Adventureland, where he didn't play characters like that. But anyways, yeah, we got to wrap this up. So that's why I like The Social Network. So next week we're gonna do our number 4, right?
Yeah, but real quick before we go, Brian and I, we both separately went and saw Joy this past week with Jennifer Lawrence, Robert De Niro, and Bradley Cooper. So that was the other thing we wanted to do with this is not only go over. We like to watch all movies, like newest, new releases out in theaters and older movies. So that's our plan, is to talk about everything that we watched in the past week. We would like to talk about. I really like Joy, and Jennifer Lawrence did win Best Actress for a comedy, which I don't see it as comedy, but she did win Best Actress.
There's no way she's going to win the Oscar this year, though, because there are 2 other actresses that are so competitive in the field.
Well, obviously the difference between Golden Globes and the Oscars is that the Golden Globes has 2 different categories for Best Picture with drama and comedy. I don't see The Martian or Joy as a comedy. I think if they were put in, if they were put in the category with like Brie Larson and Kate Blanchett, and those because Brie Larson won. She won Best Actress.
Stranded on Mars. It's so hilarious.
But he won. Yeah, but he won Best Actor for a comedy. Yeah. I don't see it as a comedy. I don't think anybody really did. I just think
I don't either.
It had comedic elements, but it's not a comedy.
I think the only reason they did was because they ran out of room for the drama, so they had to put the 2 with probably more funnier parts than the other 5. They put those in the comedies. I think if you go based on true comedy, Amy Schumer, without a doubt, beats Jennifer Lawrence as far as being in that category. But I think just because the movie and the story and the way she acted, she was so good in it, and she deserves to win. I just think it was just a weird thing.
The problem is you have Brie Larson this year for The Room. There's no way she's gonna lose unless she loses to the I forget the actress, the one who's in Carol.
Rooney Mara. Rooney Mara and Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett, because Kate Blanchett already has 2 Oscars. She's one of the greatest living actresses. So it's down to, do you give it to the newcomer? Do you give it to the veteran? Like, this is not J-Law's year. But then again, she already has one, so I don't really feel bad for her.
Yeah. Couple things with this movie is I didn't care for the narration. I get it was coming from her grandmother, and that was kind of a sentimental type thing, I guess. I didn't care for it, and I could have done without the first 20 minutes. I was really excited to see this movie. At the beginning was very boring. I know you have to set up a story, but I think that once they got started with the mop, how she created the mop, and for anybody that doesn't know, Joy is about the real life Joy Mangano who invented the Miracle Mop and is now huge with HSN, and it's how she got her start. And the whole beginning of the movie is showing how rough her life is. But you can see throughout the last hour and a half of that movie how rough her life was. I don't think you really needed the first 20 minutes because it was very boring. Like about the first, within 20, 25 minutes, they kind of go through like wedding video of her and her first husband. I think they could have started there because you'll see after that point how those 2 are still connected. I just think the beginning was kind of unnecessary, and that was my biggest flaw with it. The other one, real quick, was they always mentioned she had a second child. They never showed them. and that just kind of irked me. I was kind of like, he didn't have a part in the movie, and there was no need for him in the movie.
I think it's just the real life Joy had to be like, you gotta mention my son.
I don't think it was even that. It was just that her daughter had more to do with the movie than her son did. I think it was she has a son. But that was the only thing that
my quick little review for this movie. I will go see any collaboration with David O. Russell that has Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper. If you're not familiar, Silver Linings Playbook, which Lawrence won her Oscar for. Then they did American Hustle together. Like this is anything that those three people do together. It always makes a great film. I enjoyed Joy. That being said, this is by far the weakest collaboration that all three of those people have done together. It's by no means a bad movie. I would recommend it to people, but it's just really hard when you compare it to movies like American Hustle or Silver Linings Playbook. It does fall short. It's like calling something the worst Martin Scorsese movie. That still means it's better than most other people's movies. It's just this had a really high bar to live up to.
Yeah, I was listening to this,
and I don't think this.
I was listening to a movie podcast, and they were just ranking they were ranking the Quentin Tarantino films because Hateful Eight just came out, and they said the same thing. It's like putting that in order just because it's my number 8 doesn't mean I hate it or it's my least favorite. It's like choosing a favorite child. Like you can't. It's very hard. So I get that.
I think this director and this acting team set a very, very high bar. And they met that with their last collaboration together. I don't really think they did with this one, but like I said, this is still a great movie. I would recommend it.
And not that it annoyed me.
It's just a little slow.
Not that it annoyed me, but what I was surprised about was what a little role Bradley Cooper had in it. I thought he was gonna play. I thought he was gonna play a much bigger role. But with that, on a grading scale, because we all go to USF, we're all mass comm students at USF in Tampa. So I think it's only appropriate that we grade these movies, the newest ones, not really our favorites. But what would you, on a grading scale, A through F, what would you?
Oh, for Joy, I'd give it a B- because it's above average, but it's not exceptional. So I'd give it a B-.
Okay, I actually give it an A-, really, because once you get past the first 20 minutes, I think it's such an interesting film, and it really catches your attention because. The first 20 minutes, I say, it's really boring, but after that, it really picks up just right to the very end, and it's so enjoyable to watch. I
don't know. I think mine is tainted because I've seen so many other movies this year, like The Revenant, that were so much better than this film that I'm reserving A's for other films that I've already seen this year.
Which I get. So with that wraps up this first episode here. Right. So a quick rundown. My number 5 favorite movie is Forrest Gump. Darius' number 5 movie is Nine Dead. Brian's is The Social Network, and we just reviewed Joy. Next week, we will reveal our number 4 movies of all time. Again, favorites, not the best made. And I know Brian has already seen The Revenant. I am going Monday, MLK Day. We are all from a class. We will talk about The Revenant next week.
Yeah, I'm going to go see it.
And so all 3 of us will have an opinion on this one.
Yeah, that's definitely a movie one way or another you have an opinion on. No one's just like, meh, I didn't think anything about it.
Yeah. So anyway, with that, that's all for us. And if it seems we rushed this first episode, it's because we did.
And it was a test run.
It was a test run, but we also have class that we have to be in 9 minutes. We have 9 minutes. So we're gonna head out of here. Have a good week, and be back next week.